Well, good morning, Westmont. Hi. Page Hall. Stop it. So, I could not sleep last night because I'm so excited about this morning. Why is that? Because I kind of feel like I'm a matchmaker this morning, setting up a blind date of two people that are going to just fall in love with each other. One being Westmont as a person, and the other being our speaker today, Jason Russell. So I'm really excited for you two to meet. Not only him to meet you, but you to meet him. Jason and I met in 1996, where that may sound familiar to you first years, because that's the year you were born. Except for Mila, who just turned 18 this month, who's born in 1997, which was the year Jason graduated. He walked in last night to the session and was like, "They're so little." I'm like, they were born in 97. So we're really, really excited to have Jason Russell here today. We met an organization called Christian Youth Theater, which was founded in 1981, the year I was born, by Jason's family. So Jason grew up very theatrical, also in nonprofits. His parents founded a nonprofit who are here today, and so it's super fun to have his family in the third row. But Jason is a storyteller. That's his passion. It's in his DNA. And he also wants to use stories to help solve the world's problems. So it's really, that led him to a trip in 2002 to Uganda in Central Africa, in which he returned and created the nonprofit Invisible Children, which he'll get more into Invisible Children and the story of Coney 12 once he gets up here. But more important than Invisible Children or the film, or Coney 2012 is the belief that Jason believes that your life is bigger than your best dream for it, because God is the ultimate storyteller. And I know this to be true because Jason has impressed that upon my life and the belief he's had in me and my own story. So, Jason was one of the groomsmen in my wedding. And as you go to weddings, you sort of realize there's little bios of each of the bridesmaids or groomsmen. So I thought I would read 7 years ago the bio that I had from our wedding program, and Jason is still this person today. Jason makes change happen. He believes in the potential and the possibilities of mankind. He's believed in me like no one else, calling out potential when he sees it. He makes people feel like they have a role in this world that no one else can play but that one person. He's done this for me. I know I would not be where I am today if not for the faith that he and his family, you guys, have had for me. Jason, you're one of a kind, and the Lord has gifted the world when he sent you. Last thing, I had coffee with Amanda Underwood. Where are you? Are you here? Last week? Hi, Amanda. She was reflecting on her summer in Colorado and talking about a lesson of encouragement. And she's like, I just never learned that encouragement meant to actually give courage and receive courage. It's an exchange of courage. And Westmont, I'm so excited because you are about to receive courage today. So Jason, meet Westmont. Westmont, meet Jason. Come on up.
Good morning. It's so good to be with you. Thank you for having me. I want to tell you a story, because that's what I like to do, about a guy named Dominic Ongwen. He's actually 10 years old, on his way to school. We were born this same year, Dominic and I. And Dominic is on his way to school with his friends, his buddies, maybe has a backpack, and he gets kidnapped by this rebel group called the Lord's Resistance Army. This man, Joseph Coney, does this for a living. He kidnaps children, forces the girls to be sex slaves, forces the boys to be child soldiers. So Dominic gets abducted and actually becomes a very good student of the Lord's Resistance Army. And by a good student, I mean he does what they say he should do, which is go murder other people and kidnap and abduct. By 18 years old, Dominic is a lieutenant. By 21, he is a commander. At 25 years old, Dominic is indicted by the International Criminal Court with 4 other individuals for crimes against humanity. People in the international justice world were in outrage. They said, how can you indict a child whose crimes were put against himself for the crimes that he actually did? And this whole time, my friends and I are like, we have to get Dominic Ongwen to surrender, like to actually come out alive. And everyone said, that is impossible because he will be shot in the head or he will kill himself because he's indicted as a war criminal. There's no way he'll come out alive. At 10 years old, I was facing a crisis because I was entering homeschool. Do you guys know what homeschool is? Anyone done that? Let me break it down for you. It's a school in your home. Okay, that's how it works. And there are benefits to it, but the drawbacks to homeschool is that you actually enter high school, like a real high school, without any friends, right? Because you were at school in your home. So, high school was pretty rocky for me, especially the first 2 years. The first week in high school, I didn't know where to eat lunch. I don't know if you've ever had that problem when you're in a new place, and you're just like, I have my lunch, so I'll just go sit over here and eat it, and you don't know where, and you just feel so awkward and stupid, but you're just like, I'll eat it here. I did have one friend, and she had 10 other girlfriends, so I thought I'd just sit with her, and it was like the third or fourth day of high school, and I'm sitting there eating, and I look up, and there's food being thrown at my head by a group of dudes. And I remember specifically a carrot hitting me on the forehead. And I'm like, okay, there's like 20 of them, one of me, and 10 girls that I don't know, except one. So I'm just gonna go over here, and like, I entered into a pretty dark place, depression. I would wear this hoodie and I'd put it over my head and walk through the hallways and pretend I was invisible. I just thought, like, if I don't have to talk to anybody, I'll be fine. I'll just do this alone, get through these 4 years. You know, I'll either like go to the bathroom at lunch or I'll go to the library and pretend like I'm really busy because I don't need anybody. And then I went to this class and the teacher said, today we're gonna have you sit on this chair in front of the class and everyone in the class is gonna write their first impression of you. And I'm gonna read them out loud to you. I was like, what? What? And he said, everyone has to do it. So the first girl gets up there, she's like, ASB president, so, you know, charismatic, I got this. You're a snob. We think you're selfish. She's just like crying. And I'm like, my mom's here today, so she can attest. I went into a very dark depression. I don't know if you've ever been there, but it was so almost out of body. I couldn't finish a day of school without coming home. I had to be next to my mom. And my heart actually physically, literally hurt. It hurt so bad. But what I was allowed to see during this time is that other people were actually hurting too. I looked around and I saw more people who were sad or lonely or depressed and hurt. And I remember drawing back to being very young, and my parents have always loved Jesus in the Bible, and I remember a specific verse called Matthew 5:14. It's my favorite one in the whole Bible. And I don't know if you know it, but Matthew 5:14 is, you are the light of the world. You are the light of the world. A city upon a hill cannot be hidden. I was like, really? I'm the light of the world? I'm gonna do it. That's awesome. Like, I'm plugged in. I'm the light of the world. Great. But I remember at this time, how do I get out of this dark depression? Because honestly, there was one point, one night, my parents were gone, no one was in the house, and I was like, I think I'm gonna take my life. Because I don't like who I am. I don't like my identity. I don't like the way my voice sounds. I don't really have any friends to live for. I don't know if this thing that my parents taught me is true. Like, how can we be sure? And a voice inside me just said, how do you know? Like, you're gonna take your life? How do you know it doesn't get better? How do you know? You have no idea what tomorrow is. You are the light of the world. And what I came to realize, another way to say that is, you are more powerful than you think you are. You are more powerful than you actually imagine that you think you are. So with that in mind, I went with some friends to Sudan because I bought into James, where it said true religion is orphans, widows, taking care of them, comma, and not being polluted by the world. That's what the verse says, not being polluted. So I said, all right, let's go meet orphans and widows in Sudan. How many of you are 19? 21, 22, 23, anyone? Okay, that's how old we were when we got on the plane. It was the day the war in Iraq started, and we're like, we got a camera off eBay, and here we go. We got $300 in our pocket. We're gonna go to Africa and film a documentary. We were so ignorant. We didn't know anything. We didn't even know the Lord's Resistance Army happened. We're on a road. It gets bombed in front of us by child soldiers, and we're like, who are child soldiers? That's a thing? We didn't even know it existed. We heard about Joseph Kony, what he was doing, the night commuters. We came back. How many of you saw the original film, like in junior high, high school, the Invisible Children Rough Cut movie? We did screenings, colleges. We had to get the message out to tell the world. After 9 years and 15,000 screenings at high schools and colleges, we reached over 5 million young people face to face. And then we thought, if Kony gets captured, no one will know because they don't even know who he is. So we decided to make this video called Kony 2012. And the intention was to make Kony famous. And to be honest, I was kind of angry at God making the movie because it was the 11th movie that we made at Invisible Children, 9 years. And I was like, how are you allowing this injustice to happen this long? And I said, please show up, God. Show up. Show me that you're real. Be careful what you ask, because God shows up. Shows up in a big way. Within 6 days, it became the most viral phenomenon of all time. We had every single news industry, the United Nations, Oprah, all of them were saying, how did you do this? It's a phenomenon. It's crazy. This is really crazy. And I made the mistake of going online to see what people were talking about. And this time, they weren't throwing carrots at my head. They were throwing words at my mind. And they're worse than carrots, I'll tell you that. Words are living things. They never leave. They stick with you. So these words were attacking my identity, and I felt like I was right back there in high school, just like laying on the ground, being like, I can't believe this. What's my foundation? And I hate myself. I hate my identity. The world hates me. And I believed the lies so strongly, and I believed that I could somehow overcome them by being Jason, that one day at my house, 10 days into the Kony 2012 phenomenon, Bob Goff, my wife, and my kids were in the house when I lost my mind. And then I lost my clothes and somehow got out into the street doing a triple clap like that, like crazy. I don't know if you've seen the video, but I'm absolutely out of my mind, slapping the pavement, totally crazy. And at that time, they put me into a facility. They handcuffed me. They said, put your underwear back on. Handcuffed me and put me into a facility, which is basically like a hallway with about 15 doors. And there's about 20 crazy people living with you at all times. You never get to leave except for a cage to go out and smoke once an hour. That's the only escape. So I was like, you guys, they're locking us up in here. I stood on the table and I'm like, let's get out of here. And I tried to do a revolt and kick the door down. I was like, we're getting out. And they're like, yeah. All the crazy people are like, yeah, let's get out of here. Yeah, this guy's awesome. And 8 different people had to take me, strap me down on a table, and inject me with needles to put me into comatose. I was on 17 pills 4 times a day. I met with 30 therapists, psychologists, psychiatrists. They're diagnosing me, doing yoga, acupuncture, blah, 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 on and on and on and on and on. 2.5 years later, I take 1.5 pills still. I'm still that wound up from the Kony 2012 phenomenon. And I was in a really dark place in May. And just for the record, I don't know if you guys are into poetry. Raise your hand. Are you into poetry? Anyone? I was never into poetry, ever. I was like, I have a confession. I don't get it. I don't get it at all. And then this man came up to me, and he looked at me, and he said, can I tell you a poem? I was like, sure. And he said, even after all this time, the sun never says to the earth, you owe me. Look what happens with a love like that. It lights the whole world. I was like, what? The sun does light the whole world. And it never asks anything of the earth. It doesn't just light it, it gives us life. It actually gives us life. That's how we're sustained. I know you know this, you've done your math. Let me tell you a few things that are not normal, that we think are so normal, okay? The sun in the sky, we're actually orbiting it with a bunch of planets in a vortex, okay? We are traveling at 43,943,000 miles. 43,000 miles, that's like 1/4 of the speed of light. We're flying through space, okay, through eternity, through the cosmos. They say that the cosmos, the farthest edges we know of, are expanding faster than the speed of light. They're expanding, and they believe the entire cosmos is actually a tiny droplet of water among an ocean of other cosmoses. And we're like, that's just normal. Yeah, it's the sun. What are you talking about? Do you know this? That you had I don't need to tell you about the birds and the bees here, but literally your father had 1 billion chances of you to get here, okay? I don't need to get graphic. Your mother had all of the eggs, every single egg she would ever have in her when she was born as a tiny baby at 7 pounds. All the eggs were in her body. And then one time, your mom and dad got together, and out of 1 billion chances, you got into an egg. You made it here. That's science. That's not spirituality. That's not normal. You should wake up every day being like, I made it here. You should. You should be freaking out. You should literally be like, I can't believe I made it. You were chosen to be here. You didn't sign up on a roster, you're just here. And this, what's so amazing is we're like, what separates all things? Like from a baby, when it just comes out, it knows how to breathe. It just knows how to breathe. And then we breathe and we breathe and we breathe and we breathe. And then the old lady's like, I'm gonna stop breathing. And then she stops breathing. And we're like, yeah, it's called oxygen. Oh, really? An invisible thing that we involuntarily breathe in and out? It's an invisible thing we're breathing in and out. It's the thing that keeps us alive. It's not normal, you guys. That's not a normal thing. It's not something we should just like take for granted. Okay, here's the thing that I want to talk about. You guys should really, it's a new thing, but it's called the holographic universe. It's like 20 years old. It's string theory. Have you looked into this? So basically, people who are studying string theory and atoms and all of this stuff, they're discovering that we're actually all physically connected. Like the trees and the dolphins and us, physically, like all happening within a string theory. One way to say it is that the holographic principle suggests that what we all experience every day in 3 dimensions may really just be information on a surface located at the farthest reaches of our cosmos. So it's possible that our lives are really just acting out a painting on the largest canvas in the universe. Do you guys know who Agnes is? Have you ever studied Agnes? She's a philosopher. She became a saint pretty quickly. She changed her name to Mother Teresa, okay? Teresa, whatever, potato. This is what she says. You guys got to get into her philosophy because it's so powerful. She said, when you look at the inner workings of electrical things, you often see small and big wires, new and old, cheap and expensive, all lined up. Until the current passes through them, there will be no light. That wire is you and me. The current is God. We have the power to let the current pass through us, use us, produce us, the light of the world. Or we can refuse to be used and allow darkness to spread. You are the light of the world. Can you think of anyone in modern day history who was so like the sun, who said, you owe me nothing? Mother Teresa, you owe me nothing. Come, die with me. I will heal you. Come, you owe me nothing. She lit the whole world on fire. She bought into it. She drank the juice. She said, I do not think I have any special qualities. Everyone around her said, she's not charismatic, she's not that smart, she's not that talented. No special qualities. I don't claim anything for the work. It is his work. I am a little pencil in his hand. That is all. He does the thinking. He does the writing. The pencil has nothing to do with it. The pencil has only to be allowed to be used. This one's so good. In God we live and move and have our being. It is God who gives life to all, who gives power and being to all that exists. But for his sustaining presence, all things would cease to be and fall back into nothingness. Consider that you are in God, surrounded and encompassed by God, swimming in God. Right now, as I speak, we are actually swimming in God. Think about that when you move about your day. And then she said, in order to be Christians, we should resemble Christ. Of this, I am firmly convinced. Gandhi once said that if Christians lived according to their faith, there would be no more Hindus left in India. And then God sent me this friend named Rocky. If you haven't watched Blood Brother, you're ruining it. You need to do it. It's on Netflix. It's called Blood Brother. Don't forget, do it today, do it tomorrow. His name's Rocky. He was molested as a child, worst parents you've ever imagined, found Jesus at 18, clung to it, read the Bible backwards and forwards, believes it, literally believes it. And he looked around and he said, no one here is doing what this Christ says to do. And then he saw Mother Teresa in a documentary and he said, oh, she's holding the poor. Like, I'll never be able to hold the poor if I stay here. He got on a plane. He ended up at an orphanage, 30 kids with HIV/AIDS living with them. He spent a couple of days, got on the train, turned back because he said, I'm just gonna be another white face visiting them. He's been their father for 8 years now. He's married to an Indian woman, lives there. He said, Jason, if I gave you espresso, what would you say? It would be good, right? I like espresso. Great. What if I took the espresso and I put it in a glass of water? What would you say? It'd be good. It'd be an Americano, right? That's still good. Cool. What if I took the espresso and put it in a gallon of water? What would you say? It would taste like water with a little espresso. What if I took the espresso and dumped it in a swimming pool? I was like, it would taste like chlorine. He said, the espresso is Jesus, and the pool is modern-day Christianity. So watered down. We're trying to taste it. We're like, Jesus, we're looking around at each other. Are you the one I've been waiting for? Or should I be looking for someone else? And I looked at Rocky and I was like, you believe all of that? You believe that the way we treat the least of these is the way we're treating Christ himself? And he said, yeah, I do. I do believe that. And so did Mother Teresa. So did Agnes. She believed it, but not with her mouth, with her hands and her feet. They criticized her. They said, you never share the gospel. You're never evangelizing. And she said, it says in the scripture that they will know us by the way we love one another. By the way we love. Not our family or our friends, by the way we love our enemies. That's how they'll know. So, what I want to share with you guys is a few more poems. But before that, I want to know if Lauren Stillwell is here. Lauren, are you here? Stillwell, will you stand up? I don't want to embarrass you. Are you here? In the back? Hi, Lauren. You know, I just want to affirm you because you are tasting more and more like espresso every day, okay? You volunteering at the school, Cold Spring, down the street to make sure kids have a life and they're empowered. And I know you're going to become a chemist, and your passion is to find cures for diseases. And I want to say keep doing that because I firmly believe that people who are following Jesus should be the ones on the front lines of Ebola. That it should not be the United Nations, that it should not have to be the Red Cross, but that we Christians will go there and die for them. That's what we should do. That's what the early Christians did. That's what made it so attractive. So keep going. You are more powerful than you think you are. Thank you. Catherine Kwong, is Catherine Kwong here? Catherine, where are you? Oh, hi. Catherine, literally, you are magical. Thank you for bringing the Harry Potter Club back here. When you went to England, Westmont was a little bit darker because you left. Your eloquence is only matched by your thoughtfulness. You're going to be an amazing teacher. I think you have the world in front of you. You're so smart. Keep writing, keep believing. You are more powerful than you think you are. Thank you. Jack Mendenhall, is Jack Mendenhall here? Jack? Are you here? Hi. So Jack, you got it way before I did because I didn't like poetry till I was 36, but you are a lover of poet, you're a lover of cultures. You believe other cultures have more to teach us than we do them. And you're a surfer. Apparently you are like the best listener and you remember the specific details of other people's lives. And the truth is that you really believe that people won't remember maybe what you said or what you did, but they will remember how you made them feel. And so keep tasting like espresso. You are more powerful than you think you are. Speaking of poetry, since I got into the drug of poetry, I'm going to share a few of my favorites. Before I do, I have to tell you what I think about poetry. I think that the saints, the mystics, the people who were understanding the Christ figured out that they had to synthesize what they knew after 40, 50, 60 years of following this, and then they had to put it into a tweet. But they called it a poem. And they're like, I hope someone finds it in the future. So all of these people, St. Thomas Aquinas and Hafiz and St. Francis of Assisi, this is what they discovered about God. Listen to this. This is Hafiz. He says, from my breath, I extract God. And my eye is a shop where I offer him to the world. Mother Teresa said, God heals the world through us. God and I have become like two fat people living in a tiny boat. We keep bumping into each other and laughing. That was written 1,000 years ago, okay? You guys, newsflash, God has a sense of humor. Hello, okay? He's funny, he's joyful. This is Hafiz. He says, I am a hole in a flute that the Christ's breath moves through. Listen to this music. Imagine we get to be a hole in a flute. It's amazing. Rocky gave me this rock. Rocky gave me a rock. This white rock is actually from the actual Garden of Gethsemane when Rocky got to go there. It was the only white rock he found in the garden. And he said, do you know why I'm giving it to you, Jason? I said, no, why? He said, because do you remember what Jesus said to his favorite disciples? Do you remember what he said? He asked them to do one thing. Pray. And what did they do? They fell asleep. They were tired. And then Jesus came, and I think he kicked them, and he was like, hey, best friends, I asked you to pray. Can you wake up and pray for me? What did they do again? They fell asleep. Rocky said, we've fallen asleep. We have fallen asleep. We gotta wake up. We gotta wake up. Christ is real. He is within us. God is the ultimate creator, the ultimate director, the ultimate storyteller, the ultimate designer, all of it. And somehow we're in the play. We are in the play, and our point of view is his point of view. All the people who've studied consciousness throughout the years, they can't even come up with a paragraph. They can't come up with a sentence. They can't come up with a word to describe what consciousness is. The closest thing they've come to is awake. We're awake. Some of us are awake, and some of us are thinking we're awake, but we're not. The day I fired myself from Invisible Children, which was a month ago, because we ran out of money and funding, but we wanted to keep the programs that are bringing home the LRA going, and those remain. So Invisible Children and those programs continue. The first day of my unemployment, which I'm calling fun employment, is the day that Dominic Ongwen surrendered. Surrendered. He came out alive. And he got onto the radio messages and he said, the LRA is over, come home. Coney, come back. It's over. It's over. Right now, as I speak, he is at the International Criminal Court facing crimes that were put against him that he actually participated in. Everyone said impossible. They will never surrender. Coney will never surrender. Dominic Ongwen will never come out alive. The thing about our God is he's so obsessed with doing the impossible. Obsessed. Read the scriptures. It's all about impossible things becoming possible because nothing is impossible for our God. And I believe my hope for all of us in here is to stop pretending that we're not all connected. We are connected. To stop pretending that we're not the light bulb, that we're not the wire, that we're not the pencil that God could actually pick up and start using. We get to participate in that, but it means full surrender. My hope for all of us is that we look at Mother Teresa, what she said about love. We should ask ourselves, have I really experienced the joy of loving? True love is love that causes us pain, that hurts, and yet brings us joy. That is why we must pray and ask for the courage to love. That is love. And finally, Colossians 2, it says, my counsel for you is simple and straightforward. Just go ahead with what you've been given. You received Christ Jesus the Master. Now live him. You're deeply rooted in him. You're well constructed upon him. You know your way around the faith. Now do what you've been taught. School's out. Quit studying the subject and start living it. And let your living spill over into thanksgiving. You are the light of the world. You are more powerful than you think you are. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you.